Dude, it's a cat that says my God. Thank you everyone for watching episode 3 of Happy Hour. That episode about memes was so much fun to make, and we're so glad people are spouting those lines and posting them on our Facebook wall. Let's move on to Happy Hour episode 4. This week was very exciting for us. On the night of the 29th, we stayed up to watch two very important events. I was following the Windows 8 launch, the consumer preview launch that night.
Right here on the start screen.
Windows!
My friends and see their social updates from right here.
Prantik was following the Facebook FMC event, which started at 2 a.m. and finished at 4.
Now I'm really excited to introduce one of the product visionaries of Facebook and just a wonderful guy, the VP of Product, Chris Cox.
I love you, Cheryl!
Dave was also very busy. So those of you that don't know, Windows 8 is the next big version of Windows, which is on pretty much every desktop that's sold today. And there's something very different about Windows 8. Windows 8 for the first time is a touch-first interface, which means just like the iPad, just like the iPhone, just like modern smartphones, you're no longer supposed to work just with the keyboard and mouse. With Windows 8, most PCs are gonna ship with a touchscreen, and the UI is designed such that you can easily flick and zoom and tap. So touch is going to be a huge part of Windows. So that means big changes for websites. For one thing, every single website now has to adapt to this change. You can't build a website with text links and tiny fonts designed for keyboard and mouse. Every single website now needs to be ready for touch, which means if you were avoiding designing for the iPad, you can't avoid it much longer. By this time next year, more than 50% of PCs will be touch PCs. So you got to make sure that your website is easily scrollable, it's easily tappable, it's easily zoomable, and you basically have to adapt the UI of every single website. So that includes big giants like Google and Facebook and every other single business that's out there. So that's going to be a huge to-do list on everybody's IT task list this year. Second, one thing that's going to get a huge boost from Windows 8's launch is this thing called Windows Phone. Windows Phone, with the help of Nokia this year, is going to gain a lot of market share. As people become familiar with the interface on their desktop, they're going to want the same thing on their mobile phones. Which means more headaches for marketing folks, because now you just worry about apps and websites for iPhones and Android. But very soon, by the end of this year, you have one more platform to worry about. You have to make sure that the browsers on Windows Phone, and if you're designing apps, those are also ready for Windows Phone. The third thing that's a bit subtle is going to be the rise of Windows apps. Now what happened with the iPhone was, as soon as they made it able to launch apps, suddenly everyone started going towards the apps on their phones. The popularity of the web decreased. You started paying more and more attention to whatever was on your phone. And then the iPad came along and the same thing happened. So the same thing is now going to happen with Windows. Because Windows 8 supports app, it has its own Windows Store, you're going to have to build an app in order to get mindshare. So most of the web apps that you have right now, they're going to have to adapt and create a Windows 8 version. Most popular websites and news mechanisms, you're going to have a Windows 8 version. So that's one more thing that most banks, most telcos, most other organizations that have web apps are going to have to worry about. Speaking of Windows 8 apps, one of the apps I noticed in the launch list was Facebook. And Facebook had a big event last night, and one person who wasn't following it was our head of operations, Dave. So you weren't really up for that Facebook event?
Yeah, sir. So sorry, sir. Very tired yesterday.
Okay, why don't you tell us about the Facebook event, because I know you were studying it this morning.
Okay, give me some time,
Madman. Facebook just launched Timeline for Businesses. So now Timeline for Businesses allows brands to engage with their fans on a much richer level. So let's take a look at the new features from Timeline for Businesses. The one thing that I see that is most obvious is the new cover photo. Now you might recognize this from your own timeline. So this allows more creative freedom for brands. We have a picture of Starbucks here. So what could they do? They could show off pictures of their new stores. They could show off different shots of maybe some of their coffee culture. So the profile picture, over here you see Starbucks putting their logo, but there are definitely other alternatives to that. You can put your employee of the month, you can put your flavor of the month. So I'm gonna hand it off to Prantik. Prantik!
Yo!
Professor! Yeah! Okay, bye-bye.
I think what's really critical is the timeline aspect of the brand page, because I think it's for the first time that brands would get a brilliant chance to kind of humanize the brand, show a chronological order of the corporate history, right? You can directly go from today onwards all the way down to, let's say, the 1900s when the company was incorporated. So I think that's one killer feature. Number two that's very interesting is there's not going to be any default fan page. I think that's a feature which most brands like, because you could brand that content the way you liked. So today, moment you click on an ad or moment you click on a link, you're going to come straight to the wall, right? So I think without the default fan page tab, what's going to be very important is how brands strategize and plan what content is featured on top. So I think that's the second very critical feature that Facebook just launched last night is pin post. Sorry, I've been talking too much about Pinterest. So I think pinning seems to be the flavor of the month, where here what you can do is you can pick any one post and you can pin the post, which means whatever you pin gets featured right on top. It doesn't kind of get drowned in the avalanche of different comments that fans put or you put up. So that's very, very critical. Brands can now have the opportunity to have direct communication with individual fans. You can have private messages between fans and brand administrators, which is brilliant, right? So you can take a lot of content and communication offline, so to say, to have a private communication. So I think that's really fantastic, but it also means a lot of work for brands to really change and revitalize from the current business brand pages to the timeline page, which means, well, interesting work for agencies like us as well. Well, that's about it. Hope you found it really interesting. It's been a long night. It's time for me to go to bed as well. That's all for Happy Hour episode 4. Next week, do tune in to watch or hear us speak more about Facebook's new advertising mechanisms that they've launched. Thanks for watching. See ya. Good night.
So you just heard about the new design for Facebook's business pages. We're going to launch a service only this month, only in the month of March, to help businesses redesign and get ready for the Facebook timeline launch. Now, everybody has to get a compulsory timeline by March 30th. So within this month, what we're going to do is, with our video and photo crew, we're going to help you figure out a whole bunch of cover photos that express your personality. Plan it out for the next few months. We're going to figure out what profile photo works for you best, whether it's logo or another strategy. And really critical, we're going to look at your entire history, all your past posts, and design them into a chronological timeline, so that when people come to your brand page, they suddenly get a great idea of what the brand is all about. So all of that stuff, plus all the features Dave and Prantik talked about, and we're going to add a whole bunch of fans this month, so that people can see this new timeline. So that's a service we're launching right now, and it's going to be active only this month, in the month of March. For more details, head down to happymarketer.com or drop us an email at hello@happymarketer.com. Thanks for watching.